What's up, everybody? Kyle Kuzma name has been linked with many teams as the hot stove season is starting to sizzle. We're going to go over that and potential trade packages, and we're going to talk about the next game against the Indiana Pacers and do a preview. Next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again with my guy, the real Ed Oliver. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So we're going to get right into it. Hot stove season starting to sizzle, man. And one name that's been linked to many teams is Kyle Kuzma. Now, there was a poll that was taken by other NBA execs, and they said that the likelihood of Kyle Kuzma being moved at the deadline there's a high probability. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up. There's a question from a viewer. Shout out to Michael Corpus, and this is gonna be the question for today. If we flip Kyle Kuzma, should it be for an impactful point guard? What do you think, E?
Definitely, yeah. I think we should try to get some picks in return or a first round pick. The executive, we don't know how true the report is, the rumor is. From NBA Trade Report online, they said executives believe Kyle Kuzma will be traded before the season's deadline. Washington is looking for a first round draft pick. You got to get a pick back. You just have to, especially with all our picks being protected, that 2023 draft pick being protected from the John Wall trade. We need more young guys. We need more young talent. We need guards. We need a point guard badly. Monte Morris, I think he's a really good backup point guard. I think Jordan Goodwin is a good backup point guard. I think DeLon Wright is a good backup point guard. But we just don't have anybody that can get into the paint and make things easier for guys and just open up the offense. Get guys easy shots. Get guys like Gafford easy dunks. Porzingis easy dunks. We just don't have that guy on the roster. I think we just have solid backups. But if you can flip Kuz for a first-round pick or even two first-round picks, the way he's been playing really, really well. I think for two first-round picks would definitely be very optimistic, but I think a first and a solid player would be really, really good because, as Sham said, he's possibly going to make $20 to $25 million. And the Wizards right now, we're the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference. So we're on the outside looking into the play-in. If it continues to look that way in January or February, and, you got Rui that's going to be a free agent, Porzingis is going to be a free agent or have a player option, Kuzma's going to have a player option. I said this before, Kuzma's not going to look for a hometown discount. You got guys, Jeremy Grant's going to get a big payday. You look at DeAndre Hunter, he got a big payday. You look at Bojan Bogdanovic, he's gotten paid. Harrison Barnes has gotten paid $17 million. Bertans, $16 million. So guys that are small forwards and power forwards, they're getting paid, and the salary cap's rising, the money's going up. And Kuzma, the way he's playing, 20 points a game, 6 or 7 boards a game, couple assists. He's been clutch. He's had a 36-point game against the Mavericks. He's had a darn good season. I think he's earned more than $20 million. Right now, he's very underpaid at $13.5 million. Are the Wizards going to be able to pay that, past this year? And are you willing to bring him back? And what's the ceiling of this team if you do even bring him back? Is it going to be another season of being in the play-in or not even getting past the first round? So is it even worth it bringing back Kuz? I love Kuz. I think he's a great leader. He's one of my favorite players on the team. But for the question, if we had to trade him, yes, I do think you want to bring back a point guard, or really just picks, because if you're looking to rebuild route, you just want to get picks. Like we brought up the Hawks, just get some picks, get AJ Griffin if you can, maybe Jalen Johnson, and Yeke, the big man. Just get young talent in here. We don't have a lot of young guys under the age of 25 that are super talented or that have elite talent looking around the league. We're about to play the Pacers. You look at Tyrese Halliburton. We just don't have any young guys on that playing level. Not a lot of people do, but we just don't have anybody in that stratosphere right now on this roster under the age of 25. Maybe even close to Benedict Mathurin, the way Mathurin's playing too. So we need more picks. Do I trust Tommy to hit home runs with these picks? I don't. But if you're going to trade Kuz, yes, you have to get a first-round pick. I think a point guard would be ideal for sure.
Yeah, I think the important question with any kind of trade scenario involving Kyle Kuzma is you got to assume that we're rebuilding because Rui would probably step in and be the 4, and I assume Denny the 3. So you're going younger, so, there's a lot of questions. You get rid of Kuz, are you getting rid of Bill? A lot of questions. But looking at, focusing on Kyle Kuzma, he's a hot commodity right now. He's really evolved into a complete player. And, like we said it time and time again this year that, his value's up. His value's up. So, looking at the names that have been floated, Phoenix, obviously, with Jay Crowder, Atlanta, you got to look at Atlanta. There's a little bit of turmoil between their star player and their coach. So, you know, we said Atlanta, AJ Griffin and Jalen Johnson would be targets, but looking at fans, a lot of fans, man, they've been cooking up a lot of these trade proposals, and one of the more popular choices with fans has been the New York Knicks. And then lately, in the news, Cam Reddish, formerly of Duke, has played himself out of the rotation. So this would be the second team in a row that he's kind of played himself out of the rotation. If you look at Cam Reddish, he's got a lot of talent. So the question is, if you add him to a potential deal with maybe Fournier or Emmanuel Quickly, who would fill that point guard spot, would you go for it? That I think that, and I believe they hold our first round pick. So I think out of potential, and I know the potential teams that can emerge outside of Atlanta and Phoenix, it would be the New York Knicks, because I think that would be a good trade proposal. I love Kuz, man. I'm very hesitant to move Kuz because I like his game. I wasn't a big fan of him in LA. I'll be real with you. I was not a big fan. But because I saw a lot of immaturity, he just, playing in, behind LeBron James is hard, man. So, but him coming to DC, he's really developed into a grown man. He really has. I mean, he has really shown his leadership. He's a complete player. He's a threat. So it's hard to move on, but with a team without draft picks, you gotta strike while it's hot, man. If you're in position to, you already got a replacement in Rui. So, it's not too much of a pain to move him, but you got to get value. We got to get picks. We have to get picks. And if you're able to get a point guard in Emmanuel Quickly from New York, Fournier, or even Cam Reddish, I would go for it. So, what do you think about that potential trade? And there's a few more I'm going to bring up, but what do you think, if New York came out and those were the guys available, would you pull the trigger?
Yeah. Frank had said that Emmanuel Quickly and Evan Fournier or Cam Reddish would be attached to a deal where the Knicks would try to send Evan Fournier out. Yes, they do have our first round pick, so that would be great to get our pick back. So those protections wouldn't be on there anymore if we just get our own pick back. But yeah, I like Cam. I think only thing with Cam Reddish is his motor was questioned coming out of Duke. There was a tournament game where he sat down, he didn't play, and people questioned his heart and how much does he love the game? And, he's super talented, but, why are you on the end of the bench? What's the disconnect there? Why every team he's going to? He's only been on 2 teams, but, why hasn't it worked out with the Hawks and now with the Knicks? I think he's a super talented player. Emmanuel Quickly, I like him a lot. He can get downhill. He can get to the paint, which is something that our point guards aren't able to do. He's really good off the dribble, very shifty, young talent, very athletic as well. Can shoot the ball a little bit too. So I would love to get Quickly. I think those are 2 young guys that you can work with. Cam Reddish is going to be a free agent this coming off season too, because he was in the draft with Rui. So those are 2 guys that would be a free agent. Now, Cam Reddish, I don't think you would have to pay him much just because he's had so many DNPs and he hasn't played much. So you wouldn't have to pay him like Rui. I think Rui's going to make more than him in the market. So you have to make a decision there. But yeah, Evan Fournier, I think he's a solid player. Of course, his contract's not ideal. He's making $18 million per year. So it's not great. It's not the word. People talk about his contract is so bad, but I don't think it's as bad as people. I think it's not good, but it's not as bad as people say. People act like it's like the Bertans contract that we had. And that's the thing with Kuz too. We want to have foresight. We want to make moves before it's too late. We don't want to let guys walk for nothing. We could have traded Bertans for a couple of picks when he was hot. So we just don't want to let that happen again. I feel like there's some other guys that we definitely, held on too long that we could have got rid of. And I don't want that to happen with now. If we start winning, that's the thing. It's going to come down to where we're at in January and February. If we're winning games, then I think Tommy Shepard's going to hold on to Kuz. Now, if we're 5 games under 500, I say it's 5 for 5. If we're 5 games over 500, keep Kuz. If you're 5 games under 500, then yes, you need to fire sell. You need to start moving guys. Kuz, Will Barton, other guys, maybe even Rui, guys need to be on the trade block for sure. I think everybody needs to be up for I think everybody needs to be a trade candidate on the roster.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, getting back to Cam Reddish, I would take him. I know it's two teams that he hasn't really worked out with, but I think there's a solution to that. I would humble him a little bit. I would send him to the G League. I would take Reddish easy, but I would send him to the G League, and I would humble him, and I would get him that playing time, and then I would bring his confidence up, and then see what I have as far as on the roster. But I like Cam Reddish. I think New York could be a potential trade piece. Now, obviously, Barden would be a piece that we'd be sending out of town because he just hasn't worked out, man. I like
Mhm.
seeing local guys come back home. Come back home to be more man, but he hasn't worked out. But there's a few more proposals I'm going to talk about, and there's actually a question I have for you. But before we go, today's episode is brought to you by MasterClass. With MasterClass, you can learn from the world's best artists, icons, leaders, anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. You can learn how to cook from Gordon Ramsay. With over 180 classes from a range of world-class instructors, that thing you always wanted to do is closer than you think. I use it all the time, especially around holidays. I'm trying to get into cooking. So these videos, these classes help out a lot, and really I've stepped my game up with helping my wife cook. So I know she's happy with that. What class did you take? How was it relevant to your life and interest? What did you learn, and what were you able to do, and what did you learn? Those are questions that MasterClass has for people. Feel free to build on this experience as the campaign continues. New things you learn, what you're excited about learning, etc. Because it's not necessary to sit down and consume a full class start to finish. Sharing insights from individual lessons or what you're able to learn in 10 minutes is great too. I highly recommend you check it out. I highly recommend it. This holiday, give the perfect gift of an annual MasterClass membership and get one free. Go to masterclass.com/locked on today. That's masterclass.com/locked on. Terms apply. Again, this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire could feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and free. I use LinkedIn when I got out the military. I use a lot of different work sites, but the easier one for me was LinkedIn. It's just very user friendly. You get contact about jobs faster. So then you add your job in your purple hiring frame. Oh, to see LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/locked on NBA. That's linkedin.com/locked on NBA. To post your job for free, terms and conditions apply. So getting back into it, there was a few more trade proposals that were considered. One was the Dallas Mavericks. Our good
Oh,
friends.
one thing I want to say, yeah, Cam Reddish, I wouldn't send him to the G League. I think he's too talented. I do think he can actually contribute. I know he started a couple games this year for the Knicks. Like they tried it out. And the crazy thing is with Cam Reddish is I know Tom Thibodeau, there was reports that Tom Thibodeau didn't even want him there when they traded for him. Like that wasn't really his decision at all. It's never really the coach's decision at all anyway. But Cam, he had 11 points against the Grizzlies, where he was 1 for 2 from the three. He had 11 points as well against the Golden State Warriors. So he had 26 points against OKC this year too. So I think he's way too talented to be in the G League. He had 19 points against Utah, where the Knicks won this year as well. So he's had a couple of good games. He had 22 points against Memphis again on October 19th in a double overtime game. So I think he's way too talented. I think he's just such a question mark. He really is. And you remember the Anthony Edwards video where, they were in a hotel, and this is back when they're high school. They're like, who's so talented? Who's a guy that you couldn't stop in high school? This is high school. So this is years ago now. But he was like, Cam Reddish. He is so talented, but I just don't know what it is. Is it the motor? Is it the mental aspect? Like, what is it? He's such a question mark. But yeah, I mean, one trade scenario that I've seen, I mean, maybe you could do like it was Denny and Will Barton for I know I sent it to you. It was like Denny and Will Barton for Evan Fournier, Emmanuel quickly in our first round pick. Now the Knicks would say no to that. That's just not realistic at all. But or Will Barton for Evan Fournier in a first round pick or something like that. The Knicks would say no to that 100%. But I think Cam Reddish would be good. I think he would work out here. He can shoot the 3 too. He would be one of our 3-point shooters coming to the team already if he comes here.
Yeah, and I do agree that he's maybe too talented to go to G League, but I think that's the problem. A lot of guys that come into the league and the talent kind of gets to the head, and for you to sit down and refuse to play or not work out, I think that's why you got to humble him. Sometimes you got to let people know that, as easy as you get this, it can be taken away. Send him to the G League, and you got to humble him, because he's a young guy. So, yeah, he's obviously too talented, but if you really want to take a chance on a guy with talent, you gotta nip that attitude quick, because and that's one way to do it. I would humble him quick in the G League. But looking at potential trade proposals, I know Dallas was brought up. Our friend Dallas, who took Bertans off the books for us. I believe it was a first rounder and Christian Wood. Now, Christian Wood, I'm actually a little intrigued, because if you were to acquire Christian Wood, I would put him at the 4, and that would be a tall lineup. I mean, Christian Wood can shoot from behind the arc. He can play D. He's I've been a fan of him over the years, going all the way back to Detroit when he played for Detroit. So I'm actually intrigued by that. So what would you think of acquiring Christian Wood and maybe putting him at the 4?
Yeah, trade machine was Christian Wood and a 2027 first round pick, top 10 protected for Kyle Kuzma and Daniel Gafford. Christian was a good player, man. He kills us every time he plays us. The Rockets, he had what was it, 8 threes or 9 threes he hit with the Rockets against the Wizards last year, or something ridiculous where he went crazy.
It was like 8 threes.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Gafford, moving on from that contract. I know he's playing better as of late, but that's a contract you're gonna have to look at too when it turns up to $13.5 million. But if you're not gonna resign Kuz, at least yes, you do get a first round pick back in return. So I think it's not a bad trade. You have the Twin Towers with Christian Wood and Kristaps Porzingis. Of course, the defense, guarding quicker 4s like Jason Tatum's or Jaylen Brown's, or there's not a lot of those guys out there, but guarding those guys. But when Gafford and Porzingis play together, they play really well. That will help out the rebound. I know we're a good rebounding team statistically, but maybe we grab that rebound that we missed last night against the Bulls, because that was inexcusable. Christian Wood is a good rebounder as well. And they both are stretched big, so they really wouldn't get in the way of each other, kind of like Karl Towns and Rudy Gobert, because Gobert can't shoot the 3. It isn't stretch the floor as well. So he kind of gets in the way of spacing, because Gobert just, he doesn't have a mid-range or a 3-point shot, but Towns can shoot. You would actually have 2 versatile stretch bigs that can really shoot the 3 and are mobile and that can move. So that would be an interesting pairing there. Once again, you just got to find a point guard to bring the best out of these guys too. So I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad at that trade.
Yeah, let's play GM real quick. All right, let's pull off a 3-team trade between Dallas and New York. All right, so obviously the objective is to find a point guard. So let's shift it around here. If the Dallas was to give up Christian Wood, New York would be Cam Reddish, Fournier, and quickly. Who would the pieces be for us? Who would you be willing to part with? I know Barton would definitely be on the list.
Barton.
But you would between Denny, because you got to get rid of at least 1 to 2 of these young guys. So would it be Denny? Would it be Rui? What are you thinking?
It could be either one. I know they may want to move on from Rui because it's the contract year. They don't know if they're going to pay him. Denny, I said before that I think it would be best for a change of scenery for him, because it just hasn't really worked out here in 3 years. Now he just plays better without Brad. You saw it last night. He was more confident. He had the ball more. His usage rate goes up. When Brad is there, he's kind of more like a 3-and-D guy, just catch and shoot. And he's been awful from the 3-point line, and he's struggling to make layups. So I just think his time in DC, I think he has the talent, but it just hasn't been put all together. And he has a lot of offensive deficiencies. So I think just a change of scenery would be best for him. So I wouldn't mind. I'd rather move Denny than Rui, to be honest. I think we've been missing Rui, his scoring off the bench. It's just the only thing is just the contract. So yeah, I would move Denny and Kuz for a point guard, possibly. If you're not going to bring back Kuz, as long as we can get a first round pick back in return, I think that would definitely help. And then Will Barton, you can just send him. You can send him for a second round pick right now at this point.
Look, don't sleep on second round picks.
Yeah, no. Look at Andrew Nembhard. Look at him. Look at Andrew Nembhard. Draymond Green's a second round pick. Gilbert Arenas' second round pick. I mean, we sleep on second. We draft guys. No disrespect to Isu Sanan and guys like that. Yannick Zoza. We stash. Bol is a second round pick. Look at him. That's a guy we could have drafted. So I mean, you're right. I'd never sleep on second round picks. I love second round picks.
Oh, we about to see Indiana second round pick soon.
Yeah,
man, look, he's lighted up. I mean, the list goes on. The second round picks. I mean, Draymond Green. He was a second round pick. The list goes on, man. The second round picks, we had to value picks better. And I know that's a whole another conversation. We can say time and time again just how many issues we've had drafting. But second round picks, I think we need, first, second round, any kind of picks we can get, definitely get them because we're in short supply. We are historically bad for this sending first round picks in trades like it's nothing. Going back to Bogdanovich when he played for Brooklyn, that misses in trade going into the playoffs. We sent a first round pick for a guy that didn't even last a half a season for us. And you can time and time again. So we have to value picks better. But it's interesting because it's hostile time. So having discussions about potential packages. Kuzma, you can't see him being moved at the deadline. His value is through the roof right now. I see Rui staying. I see Rui. I mean, you can't send out both. If you get rid of Kuzma, you gotta hold on to Rui. And likewise, if you get rid of Rui, you gotta hold on to Kuz because both of them, I think, can start at the 4 and be very successful at the 4 going forward with this franchise. So it's got to be one or the other. So right before we're going to move into the preview for the Indiana Pacers Friday night. But before we do, we have a sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball to soccer and esports, we've got it all on BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online where the game starts. All
yes,
right.
Sir. Oh,
yeah. Go
ahead. Yes, sir. So we're going to move right into the preview for the Indiana Pacers games. Now, the Pacers have been playing above expectations. Now, looking at their potential lineup, obviously Tyrese Halliburton starting at the point we know what he can do. He's just man. He's going to be good, man. He's really going to be good. But it gets trickier from there. Looking at ESPN and a few sites on the depth chart and potential lineups for this game, one site had Benedict Mathurin at the 2, but all of them had Buddy Hield at the 3. Now Hield, he's a crafty guard and who can defend the 3, but he's a little undersized to do so. So my question regarding that is this the perfect place to kind of exploit their team? Because I think Denny can pretty much handle Buddy Hield. So is that the matchup you're looking for, or what matchup are you looking forward to that will be that pivotal matchup for a dub?
Tyrese Halliburton, man. I'm trying to look up where he ranks in assists, but there's games where he'll have 15 assists, 16 assists. I'm looking at him right now. He's first in the NBA in assists per game with 11 assists per game. He's first in the NBA with overall assists with 254. He's 5th in the league with steals and with 43, 3rd in the league in steals per game. I mean, he's the head of the snake right now. He's 16th in player efficiency rating. He's 11th in win shares, 12th in offensive win shares as well. This is per Basketball Reference. So basically, he's just the head of the snake right now. He really is. They go through him. He's initiating their offense, obviously because he's their point guard. But your question about Buddy Hield, man, he hurt us last game. I mean, we got blown out at home. We beat him the first time. Then Miles Turner came back. He was healthy. We played zone. We doubled. That's when West was just going double happy and zone happy against good teams that can shoot the 3, like Kevin Durant was killing us, and then Buddy Hield was killing Mathurin, Halliburton. So whatever defensive philosophy that Wes Unseld Jr. had the first game, we can't do that. We got to throw that. We have to throw that out the window. So maybe you could put Danny on Halliburton just to disrupt him. And just have somebody with a long wingspan in his face. Then he just has to defend without fouling. But yeah, Buddy Hield, man, you got to get out there. You have to know where he is. You have to be in his airspace. You're gonna have to, maybe even face guard him when he's running around on those screens. And you got to communicate because we're one of the worst defensive 3-point percentage teams in the league. We're 23rd in opponent 3-point percentage. So we got to buckle up for this one because they're going to shoot a lot of threes. Right now, they are 4th in 3-point attempts in the league. So they get a lot of threes up, and we don't defend the 3-point line well. So you're going to have to really, really.
Yeah, moving on. Talking about the Pacers, like E was talking about. Buddy Hield is no slouch, man. Buddy Hield is no slouch. He's just, but I think that Denny Good. Oh,
Yeah,
just
you
let
keep
me.
going.
Oh, okay. Oh, so going back to Buddy Hill, he's a crafty guard, man. He can shoot from outside, but looking at, I was gonna get on this. If ever there was a trade that everybody won, it was the Kings and Pacers trade because I mean, Buddy Hill, he's been that talent. I just, coming over from Sacramento in Halliburton. What can you can't say enough about Halliburton, man. It's just he's an all-star. He's a future all-star. He's going to be an all-star, so but I think Buddy Hield is a matchup you got to exploit that because he's undersized. I think if that's his assignment, then definitely I think he can handle him. But more importantly, you got to look at Miles Turner, and I know that Jalen Smith is day to day, but I mean chances are he's going to play. So with Jalen Smith and Miles Turner, another question for you is this the perfect time to play a bigger lineup? Would you play Gafford and KP against his team, or and maybe Kuz at the 3, or are you content with Kuz at the 4 and then he maybe holding down the 3?
I'll switch it up. I mean, they did it. Gafford and Porzingis did a good job. They did a good job against the Hornets, where they only held the Hornets to 10 points in the fourth quarter. I thought Porzingis and Gaff were okay against the Bulls, and Gaff and Gibson, I thought they did a solid job too when they played together. So I don't think West should be scared to play two bigs at the same time, especially with Miles Turner out there. Miles Turner, he's a Wizards killer as well. He had 23 points and hit 4 threes against the Timberwolves. They just lost, but yeah, especially with this rebounding, especially in the clutch too, they may have to just try a big lineup if it gets down to the crunch time, because we just give up too many late game offensive rebounds that just put the nail in the coffin. We shoot ourselves in the foot, and I think we should try to dominate. They play, their starting five is Halliburton, Nembhard, Miles Turner, Aaron Nesmith, and Buddy Hield. Yeah, I would try to go big a couple of times against the Pacers.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect time to do that. I think it's time to see Gaff and KP in the front court together because I mean rebounding, you solve that issue. So the question is who at the 3. Presumably it'll be Kuz at the 3, but then the question is, would you put Denny at the 2? I mean, I know that he kind of goes to 3 or the 4, but he has played against 2 guards before. Or would you bring Kisper? I mean, but that's the thing. I think that West has to be more crafty with his lineups. Stop being stagnant with his. Stop having the same lineups day in and day out. Really explore a little bit, because this is a strength that we've had, what we have on this team, is that we have a lot of guys who can play multiple positions. So I think he has to explore a little bit, because look, Indiana, man, they're young, they're hungry, they're trying to let the NBA know that, look, being young doesn't mean we're supposed to slide down the standings. They're playing above expectations, and they can cook you. Buddy Hield is historically known to be a heck of a 3-point shooter. You look at Jalen Smith, formerly of Maryland, University of Maryland, baby Terrapin.
Yes, sir.
He can play some ball. And even if you look at the bench, man, O'Shea Brisser, I mean, the list goes on. I mean, was it Taylor? They have a lot of depth in this team. This is a young team, so I think that we're going to slide right into the keys to victory, and I'm going to go into mine real fast. Keys to victory, and I know I'm pretty much reiterating most of the time my keys to victory, but these are the biggest issues we have. And when they hit these areas, they win. 1, defense. Transition defense has to be better. It was slightly better last game, but then we still got caught sleeping. Perimeter defense, biggest one. Perimeter. We've got to guard the perimeter, man. We have got to guard the perimeter, because like you said, they will cook you, and they will cook you. So the perimeter defense, I think, it has a lot to do with, all defense has to do with defensive communication. Communication is key. We are poor in communication, and we have been poor all year on the defensive end. We get mismatched a lot, team, and that comes with not communicating on the defensive end. So we have to communicate. So defense is 1. 3-point shooting will be 2. I say time and time again, I'm not asking for them to be Golden State, just to be better than 29%. That's all I'm asking here, man. It's just better than 29%. Hit those open shots. I forgot to say this last episode, talking about them shooting low percentage 3-point shots. You need to hit the open ones. This goes for Denny. This goes for anybody. You have to hit open shots. They're open for a reason. There's a reason why they're letting Denny shoot, because they know. So there's a big reason why they're sitting back and say, "Hey, go ahead, launch it. Go ahead, brother." They're daring them to shoot. So we have to be better to shoot 3-point shooting, and rebounding, and paint defense. I'm a molded into one. Protecting the paint, really, making the paint our territory, man. We got to rebound consistently, and we have to defend the paint. Miles Turner can't shoot behind the arc, but he can cook you inside. Same thing with Jalen Smith. They are avid rebounders. So That would be my keys to victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. The Pacers are first in pace, so they want to run. They're second in fast break points per game, so we got to get back on defense. So transition defense is going to be huge. Guarding the point of attack against Tyrese Halliburton is going to be huge. He's the head of the snake. He gets a lot of assists, 11 assists per game. And defending the three-point line, they're really good at shooting threes. They're 13th in three-point percentage, and they're fourth in three-point attempts. So three-point defense is going to be huge. Transition defense, and I'll just keep it simple, man. We gotta stop the unforced errors and turnovers. We got to make free throws. We got to make free throws. That hurt us last night. I'll just go off the stuff from that hurt us against the Bulls. Free throws, turnovers, and rebounding. And I think we should win this game. Miles Turner is a tough cover too. So it's going to be a big game for Porzingis and Gaff. They let Anthony Davis have 55. They let Vucevic have 27. All the bigs that they played against lately, Bam Adebayo went crazy. All the bigs that they've been playing against crazy. They've had easy nights. They've had big nights. So Porzingis is gut check time for him. Gafford too. Gibson, all of them. They got to step up and be physical.
Yes, sir. So again, everybody tune in Friday night on the road in Indiana. Let's get this dub. I think it's a very winnable game. Now it's going to be a test.
Mm-hmm. And last thing, I'm sorry to cut you off too. Chandler Parsons talking trash about Kyle Kuzma. He should never talk again about somebody being overpaid or getting paid too much money. Chandler Parsons is the last person to say anything about Kyle Kuzma. You didn't hear about that in a FanDuel interview. Chandler Parsons basically is saying that Kyle Kuzma thinks he's a star, or thinks that he's better than who he is. Chandler Parsons is basically talking about himself in the mirror, a guy who missed multiple games, got a contract because he was best buddies with Mark Cuban. You're talking about Kyle Kuzma, who averaged 20 points in his career, and Chandler Parsons only averaged, 12 points in his career? And you're talking about Kyle Kuzma, an NBA champion who's playing at an all-star level right now. Chandler Parsons, he needs to have a seat right now. He shouldn't say anything about Kyle Kuzma. He just needs to worry about and talk about himself.
He needs to stop. He needs to sit down somewhere, man. Like, what are you talking about, man? You were best friends with Mark Cuban for how long? Come on, bro. Like,
stealing money.
Yeah, it's just stop, man. Look, you have no place to talk about Kyle Kuzma because he's a much better player. So yeah, it's just we were laughing about it before the episode, y'all. Like, come on, man, you need to stop. It's just so yeah. Moving on again, Indiana on the road Friday night.
Oh, who you got winning? Real quick.
Ooh, man. I got us losing this game, man. I'm gonna tell you why. Indiana's just their chemistry shows. Halliburton is really developing to a floor general, man. His vision for a guy that's young. I have us losing this game. I hate to say that because I'm a very loyal fan, but they have a lot of firepower. Our defensive issues are just they exploit it every time. We have issues on the defensive end, and I think West, you got to step it up, man. Your calling card is defense. Come on, bro. Like, so the defense just ain't there to deal with a team that can light you up. Buddy Hield can light you up. Halliburton can light you up. Matthew can light you up. It's just so I got us losing, and I'm even going to predict it, man. It's going to be a poor shooting night. It's going to be 109-92.
I think so too. It's in Indiana as well. Just looking at the standings before, I know we were supposed to wrap it up, but they're 6th in the East. We're 11th in the East. They're 13-12, and we're 11-14. So the East is really, really close. Of course, it's very early in the season, but I got us losing too.
Yeah, I hate to say it, man, but I got this as an L, man. So again, appreciate everybody tuning in. Definitely show up, watch the game. Was try to get this done. Was prove ourselves wrong. Definitely check out me and my dude, the real Ed Oliver, on Twitter and Instagram. Every game we're commenting, we're watching the game. We're talking back and forth with fans. So definitely tune in. We are close to 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. So definitely like, subscribe, comment below. Everybody, I hope everybody has a good Thursday and a good weekend. Everybody, peace.